Another day, another crazy way to use AI. In this episode, how an Iowa school district is using AI to ban books. But before we get into that, did you know that despite the U.S. ethos that you'll be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law enforcement finding an excuse to search your digital devices only requires a presumption of wrongdoing? And according to speakers from the Legal Aid Society at DEF CON last Friday, the tech to do this already exists, while murky legislation lets it happen. Technically and legally, there's not much really truly blocking the government from getting the information they want if they want it, Allison Young, digital forensics analyst at the Legal Aid Society, told Engadget. It's easy, too. Without picking up any new skills or tools, Young was able to use her existing expertise in the field and access to forensics tools to find sensitive data that could be used to, for example, prosecute someone being targeted for getting an abortion, as it becomes increasingly illegal across the country. The problem isn't just the state of local law either, but it's embedded in the Constitution. As Diane Ackerman, digital forensics attorney at the Legal Aid Society, explained, the Fourth Amendment hasn't been updated to account for modern problems like digital data. The Fourth Amendment intends to protect people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the U.S. government. This is where we get legal protections like warrants, where law enforcement needs court approval to look for evidence in your home, car, or elsewhere. Today, that includes your digital belongings too, from your phone to the cloud and beyond, making way for legal loopholes as tech advancements outpace the law. For example, there's no way to challenge a search warrant prior to it being executed, Ackerman said. For physical evidence, that makes some sense because we don't want someone flushing evidence down a toilet. Check out the rest of this story and the latest in tech news at Engadget.com. Well, it certainly didn't take long for AI's other shoe to drop, what with the emergent technology already being perverted to commit confidence scams and generate spam content. We now add censorship to that list as the Globe Gazette reports the School Board of Mason City, Iowa, has begun leveraging AI technology to cultivate lists of potentially bannable books from the district's libraries ahead of the 2023-2024 school year. In May, the Republican-controlled state legislature passed, and Governor Kim Reynolds subsequently signed, Senate File 496. SF 496, which enacted sweeping changes to the state's education curriculum. Specifically, it limits what books can be made available in school libraries and classrooms, requiring titles to be age-appropriate and without descriptions or visual depictions of a sex act, per Iowa Code 702.17. But ensuring that every book in the district's archives adhere to these new rules is quickly turning into a mammoth undertaking. Our classroom and school libraries have vast collections consisting of texts purchased, donated, and found, Bridget Exman, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction at Mason City Community School District, said in a statement. It is simply not feasible to read every book and filter for these new requirements. As such, the Mason City School District is bringing in AI to parse suspect texts for banned ideas and descriptions, since there are simply too many titles for human reviewers to cover on their own. Per the district, a master list is first cobbled together from several sources based on whether there were previous complaints of sexual content. Books from that list are then scanned by AI software, which tells the state censors whether or not there actually is a depiction of sex in the book. Frankly, we have more important things to do than spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to protect kids from books, Exman told PopSci via email. At the same time, we do have a legal and ethical obligation to comply with the law. Our goal here really is a defensible process. So far, the AI has flagged 19 books for removal. They are as follows: Killing Mr. Griffin by Lois Duncan, Sold by Patricia McCormick, A Court of Mist and Fury, a series by Sarah J. Maas, Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson, Tricks by Ellen Hopkins, 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, Beloved by Toni Morrison, Looking for Alaska by John Green, The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, Crank by Ellen Hopkins, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie, and American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser, The Color Purple by Alice Walker, Feed by M.T. Anderson, Friday Night Lights by Buzz Bissinger, Gossip Girl by Cecily von Zygasar, and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Today's show featured journalism by Engadget contributors Chris Holt and Mariella Moon and was produced by Spoken Layer. I'm Imran Sheikh, and we'll talk more tomorrow.
Spoken Layer.